यदप्येते न पश्यन्ति लोभोपहत चेतसः कुलक्षयकृतम् दोषम् मित्रद्रोहे च पातकम् कथम् न ज्ञेयमस्माभिः पापादस्मान्निवर्तितुम् कुलक्षयकृतम् दोषम् प्रपश्यद्विजनार्दन कुलक्षये प्रणश्यन्ति कुलधर्मा सनातनाः धर्मे नष्टे कुलम् कृत्स्न अधर्मोऽभिभवत्युत अधर्माभिभवात् कृष्ण प्रदुष्यन्ति कुलस्त्रियः स्त्रीषु दुष्टासु वार्ष्णेय जायते वर्णसङ्करः सङ्करो नरकायैव कुलज्ञानाम् कुलस्य च.
So that's how. See, now let's move to what's happening in the current scene. Now I have James Cameron talking. Let's see what he says about
that has suffered damage to or loss of their as a result of rioting can seek compensation under the Riot Damages Act, even if uninsured. I've said before that there is a major problem in our society with children growing up not knowing the difference between right and wrong. This is not about poverty, it is about culture. A culture that glorifies violence, that shows disrespect to authority, and that says everything about rights but nothing about responsibilities. In too many cases, the parents of these children, if they're still around, don't care where their children are or who they're with, let alone what they are doing. The potential consequences of neglect and immorality on this scale have been clear for too long, without enough action being taken. As I said yesterday, there is no one step that can be taken, but we need a benefit system that rewards work and is on the side of families. We need more discipline in our schools. We need action to deal with the most disruptive families. And we need a criminal justice system that scores a clear and heavy line between right and wrong. In short, all action necessary to help mend our broken society.
Let me start with families. The question people asked over and over again last week was, where are the parents? Why aren't they keeping the rioting kids indoors? Tragically, that was actually followed in some cases by judges rightly lamenting, why don't the parents even turn up when their children are in court? Well, join the dots and you can have a clear idea about why some of these young people were behaving so badly. Either there was no one at home, they didn't much care, or they'd lost control. Families matter. I don't doubt that many of the rioters out last week had no dad at home. Perhaps they come from one of the neighbourhoods where it's standard for children to have a mum and not a dad, where it's normal for young men to grow up without that male role model, looking to the streets for their father figures, filled up with rage and anger. So if we want to have any hope of mending our broken society, family and parenting is where we have got to start.
That of all the rocks upon which we build our lives, we are most dependent on the family. The family is that most important foundation. And we are called to recognize and honor how critical every father is to that foundation. They are teachers and coaches, they're mentors, and they're role models. They are examples of success and the men who constantly push us towards success. But if we're honest with ourselves, we'll admit that too many fathers are also missing. Too many fathers are MIA. Too many fathers are AWOL. Missing from too many lives and too many homes. They've abandoned their responsibilities. They're acting like boys instead of men. And the foundations of our family have suffered because of it. You and I know this is true everywhere, but nowhere is it more true than in the African American community. We know that more than half of all black children live in single-parent households. Half. A number that's doubled since we were children. We know the statistics that children who grow up without a father are 5 times more likely to live in poverty and commit crime. They're 9 times more likely to drop out of school, 20 times more likely to end up in prison. They're more likely to have behavioral problems or run away from home or become teen parents because the father wasn't in the home. The foundations of our community and our country are weaker because of this. Think about it. How many times over the last year has this city lost a child at the hand of another child? How many times have our hearts stopped in the middle of the night with the sounds of gunshot or sirens? How many teenagers have we seen hanging out on street corners instead of hanging out in the classroom? How many are sitting languishing in prison when they should be working or at least looking for a job? How many in this generation are we willing to lose to poverty or violence or addiction? How many? We can't simply write these problems off to past injustices. Those injustices are real. There's a reason why our families are in disrepair, and some of it has to do with a tragic history. But we can't keep on using that as an excuse. Some of it has to do with the failures of our government, and those failures are real, but we can't keep on using that as an excuse. Yes, we need fewer guns in the hands of people who shouldn't have them. Yes, we need more money for our schools and more outstanding teachers in the classroom and more after-school programs for our children. Yes, we need more jobs and more job training and more opportunity in our community. We know all that. That's why I'm running for President of the United States of America. We know we need to bring about change in America. We know that. But the change we need is not just going to come from government. It's not just going to come from a president. It's going to come from us. It's going to come from each and every one of us. We need families to raise our children.
Risks other people's lives cannot be really compared to relationships. In the majority of these cases, the breakdown of the family, it's very complicated and very fragile.
He's not actually, though, drawing some sort of moral equivalence, is he, between drunk drivers and fathers who leave their families? What he's saying is that they should be stigmatized in the way that drunk drivers are.
But why? Because as far as I'm concerned, the majority of cases, many of the fathers, there are a lot of reasons for why they're not with their children. They're not seeing their children. Not the least, women who won't let them. One of the problems with the breakdown of marriage is men tend to resent having to financially support their children. Well, not their children so much, but the woman. And what women tend to do is to ban the fathers from seeing their children.
So women are equally to blame in this breakdown of relationships?
But we're talking about people. You can't say it's men or women. It's both. And the thing I mind most is that Father's Day is the one day we celebrate fathers, and this is the day that Cameron's going out for some votes. And I just feel very sad because I work particularly, I always have for 40 years, with violence-prone women who have multiple violent relationships and many, many children. And here we are stigmatizing men, and he is saying, extolling the virtues of single-parent mothers. There's some brilliant single-parent mothers. I've been a single-parent mother. But there's a vast mass of women who are equally as feckless as the men, and we never talk about them.
So he talks about single mothers being heroic, and as you say, broad brush, and you're implying sort of generalizations here. But what is the government doing, do you think, in terms of legislation and new legislation to actually protect single mothers? Are they doing enough? Is there that sort of support net there, in your view, that there has been in previous years?
I don't think there is, and I think we have to have a complete revolution in how we take care of fragile people who are bearing children. One of the main problems, as you know, we're the biggest... In our country, we have more single-parent mothers than anywhere else in Europe, and we don't really look at why this is and what we can do about it. And there's some very simple steps. I've just finished a book in This Way to the Revolution, where I'm actually talking about stopping letting young women have their own private flats and houses, and saying they need shared housing, where in fact they can be monitored and helped to bring up children who are already badly damaged by circumstances.
Do you accept, though, the Prime Minister's point that marriage is the cornerstone of society? Do you think that is the best way for raising children?
Well, it has for thousands of years been the best way for... But the main thing, we can't put the genie back in the bottle. What we can say is children need biological mothers and fathers or other caring figures.
With the destruction of dynasty, the eternal family tradition is vanquished, and thus the rest of the family becomes involved in irreligious practice. When irreligion is prominent in the family, O Krishna, the women of the family become corrupt, and from the degradation of womanhood O descendant of Vrishni, comes unwanted progeny. When there is increase of unwanted population, a hellish situation is created both for the family and for those who destroy the family tradition. In such corrupt families there is no offering of oblations of food and water to the ancestors. Due to the evil deeds of the destroyers of family tradition, all kinds of community projects and family welfare activities are devastated.